Hi everyone, this is Sarah, the Catholic Homemaker. Today I'm going to be doing another homeschooling book review, and this one is called Homeschooling with Gentleness by Susie Andres, and the subtitle for that is A Catholic Discovers Unschooling. So first of all, I want to welcome everyone to my channel, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I invite you to subscribe so we can continue to grow this community. And please hit the like button if you like this video, and hit the notification bell for all notifications so you know when I post, which is every Monday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And also comment below if you have heard about this book or your favorite homeschooling or unschooling books in the comments below, or just any recommendations you have. And share this video. Just if you do all of these things, that will help people find my channel and find my videos and help to grow this community. So let's jump into it. I'm going to be referring to some of my notes here. First of all, I want to highly recommend this book, especially for the appendices at the end, because it's a great reference guide, especially for adults, because there's a number of adult books on the list for just specifically on the subject of homeschooling or unschooling in general. And there's definitely books that relate to Charlotte Mason from a Catholic perspective as well. So there are definitely books on there I want to read myself. And then in addition to that, there are children's book lists at the back for different age levels, and the author doesn't specify for specific ages, because I guess from the whole unschooling perspective, that some children will be more ready sooner than others, or some will be more ready later than others. So it just kind of depends on where the child is at. And obviously, like, a 3-year-old is not going to be super interested in The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings, but you don't have to completely close your mind to that, but just to give you like a general reference guide of what age levels, or just young children to older children, etc. That's kind of how it's categorized. But it has a really great list of children's books for all different age levels, as well as reference books for adults as well. And I love looking at book lists because I learn about books that I haven't heard before, and it's really just a good treasure to have. There's a number of book lists that I refer to reading to my children, so that's just something that I always value very much. Now, this book talks about what is unschooling, and basically my understanding of unschooling is that instead of it being the parent or the teacher that decides what the child should learn, it is child-guided learning. So I would say the parents give guidance in that respect, because obviously, like, from scratch, a child isn't going to know exactly what they might be interested in, or, you know, I think from the unschooling perspective, it's like the parent is giving the children all these different options, and the child is saying, oh, I'm interested in that, or I'm interested in learning about that. And then the parent from there provides all the resources necessary for the child to learn that. And I kind of have mixed feelings about unschooling. I'm just going to put that up front. In some ways, it makes a lot of sense to me, but in other ways, I'm kind of hesitant, because I'm like, and the author does address this in the book, of course, that the common objections to unschooling, that you're not doing enough for your child, or you're not following a certain curriculum, you're not following like the standard guidelines. And I do appreciate and understand that, especially because I have embraced homeschooling in general, not necessarily unschooling, but homeschooling. One of the reasons people want to homeschool is that the school system is broken, and it's all about standardized testing and just cramming in learning just for a test. And you're not truly learning the material, you're just kind of learning and then dumping that material and forgetting all about it, instead of having like a true love of learning, which is very important to have like throughout your life, even after you have received all of your education. Also, it talks about unschooling from a Catholic perspective and asking the question if Catholics can be unschoolers. And the author does address that concern, because she talks about people who argue against unschooling who are Catholics, because they're saying that we are, because of original sin, or because of sin in the world, that, children would never choose, like they wouldn't have the willpower because of sin to learn all the things they need to on their own. And I'm not going to get into all the reasoning of that, but she does address that concern, and she answered, I think she proves that it is actually okay to unschool, but from a Catholic perspective, in that you can't just completely not parent your children. And I think she even gives like religion as an example, like you have to be an active part, or like the conscience of your child as they're learning, and not just say, hey, you can do whatever you want today. There's like some sort of guidance going on throughout the whole process. And one of the most important things as a Catholic is bringing your children up in the faith. And that she talks about how that is of higher importance than your children receiving the best education they could. And I would agree with that. And I would say that goes in line with other homeschoolers' thoughts who are Catholic and or Christian. Also, there's references to John Holt, who was a big advocate, or maybe the original advocate for unschooling. And he died back in 1985, so he died a long time ago, but he wrote several books on the subject, and a lot of his books are in that appendix in the back of the book. And he would always emphasize the point that it was a really bad practice to force children to learn things, and it just ends up backfiring if you try to force children to learn things. And I can definitely speak from personal experience, because I know with my oldest, she's 4 now, she really does have a love of learning. Both of my children do. And the best example I can think of is that when I try to read books that they're not ready for to them, they kind of fight and they like squirm, and they're like, and that's kind of almost me like forcing them to try to learn that book before they're ready. So I would say, hopefully that's a good example to all of you. I know it's like for a young child, but it makes a lot of sense to me that I should wait until they're ready, and I shouldn't just try to force them to read that book if they're not interested in it, because that kind of detracts from a love of learning for them, which is really the most important thing. Because the author talks about an example of her husband worked in he was a college professor, I believe, and there was a friend of theirs who was an admissions director, and she was very worried about her oldest son. And he basically reassures her, and he says that the most important thing for him is to have a love of learning, because she's asking him what are all the things, she wanted this list of things that were perfect for him to get into a great college, or a great Catholic college. And he said the most important thing was for him to have a love of learning. And I would definitely highly agree with that. So I I have kind of learned that lesson myself to just kind of foster my children's love of learning, and they love reading books, both of them. And so I would say that's like the most important thing, like from birth, start reading to your children every single day. Even if it doesn't seem like they're interested in it, you got to try to keep pushing through, like not forcefully, try to find things that they're interested in, of course, and good quality type of stuff. Like a newborn infant isn't going to be interested in a whole lot of picture books, but there's different like age appropriate stuff. But if your child is interested in books beyond their age level or before that, like don't have all these rules about your children. So I guess that's something that I would agree with a lot with the unschooling people, is that you should not try to force your child to learn something before they're ready. Just if you notice there's a lot of resistance, try a different technique. And if that doesn't work, maybe just take a break from it, because maybe that's what you both need. And there are examples of that in the book as well. Also, there's an example of a family, what homeschooling might look like. And she uses her own family as an example. And she lists all kinds of activities and subject matters that her son is learning. And so it really looks like the type of stuff like a kid attending school or just a regular old homeschooler might be doing. I think the biggest difference is that they're not following a set curriculum and having all these hard and fast rules. So I would say that might be a little hard for me to actually put into practice and like to let go of a curriculum. And because I'm kind of the person who likes to check things off a list. But I would say, like from my own experiences with just trying to like force my children to read a book, that if I run into a wall like that with either one of them, I would try to back off of it and just try to continue on with other things that they are interested in. So that is all I wanted to talk about with this particular book, and I would love to hear what you think about it in the comments. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. May God bless you and your families.